Hello, YouTube. What's going on? This is JP with Career Inclusive. We're kicking off 60 days of value. I'm going to share a little more on that and what I'm talking about. So stick through to the end, learn about 60 days of value and what we're kicking off here at Career Inclusive. Well, today we're talking about today is the only day that matters. And we often think about yesterday, we often think about tomorrow and make plans for tomorrow and share memories or hold memories of yesterday. But in reality, all we really have is today. What we have is right here and right now. Let me tell you a story. For many years in my life, and more recently than I would care to admit, it's probably been 10 years, but it's not too distant. I lived for like what was beyond, not necessarily tomorrow or next week or even next year, but really like the hereafter. And I was very focused on making the most for the hereafter and really focused on like something that's way out there that you might say there is no empirical evidence or proof of. It's all philosophy and thoughts and different ideas. And I was living my life like I just wanted to get to some other place, right? To like a heaven, right? And that I did that for 11 years. And it was I tried to do the best that I could for that, but when you're not living for, I don't want to say for today. It's not like what I'm saying is not a live today for tomorrow we die sort of idea that I'm sharing here, but it's all really about making the very most of today because yesterday is an illusion and tomorrow hasn't happened. Anything outside of here and now is a story. It's a story that we might tell ourselves. It's a story that we might share with others, but that's all that yesterday and tomorrow are. Today is now. Everything else outside of that is a story. It tomorrow doesn't exist, right? And so we are working today to make a better tomorrow. And so what I want to talk to you about is living your life to the fullest day to day so that you can create a powerful story, so that you can create a very strong story about who you were and about who you're going to be, to leave a legacy, a strong legacy, and to have strong stories about your life. And we do that not by dreaming about tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, but we do that by planning today and making the most of every day and then moving forward. A lot of that starts with mindset. So think like you're already there. I talk to a lot of, I focus with STEM professionals. I help STEM professionals accelerate their careers. And I talk to a lot of STEM professionals, especially, I was going to say especially freshers, but really it runs the whole gamut. People of all levels in the industry, you often see this mindset or experience this mindset of I want to be this thing. I'm not that thing yet because no one's paying me to be that, right? But you are not who you're paid to be, not necessarily. If you're a student and you're studying to be an engineer, as a software engineer, a mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, whatever it might be, AI engineer, you want to work in autonomous vehicles, and you're studying and you're taking these extra certifications outside of university, well, you are an engineer. You may not be paid to do that. And maybe your freshman or sophomore year, maybe you're not quite yet an engineer yet. But definitely by your senior year, when you're starting to really look for internships and you're thinking about your career, you already are an engineer at that point. It's just no one has paid you. No one's paying you to be that thing. But you are, and you've got to think in your mind, you've got to be, I am an engineer. All right. So it's getting your mindset right. I already am this thing. Every morning I wake up, I write some goals, and I write those goals as though I've already achieved them. So I'm preparing my mind to say, I already am this thing. I already have accomplished this thing. So it lets my brain know, hey, if I'm this thing, I need to I need to think of ways that I can become that. And so you got to think like you're already there. You think like you're already successful. That doesn't mean you're going to, like, if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to make $100,000 a year, I'm going to make $500,000 a year. You don't go and burn money like you've got $500,000 in the bank, but you carry yourself like a person who is able. You carry yourself like an engineer. You carry yourself like a professional in their field who is highly respected. You just think of yourself as though you already are that thing. And then build and produce. So, as part of that mindset, and to help you create that strong mindset, you want to build and you want to be producing. You want to create. This, this touches on imposter syndrome as well. A lot of people are afflicted with imposter syndrome, and the best way to get over that is to do. And once you do and you create and you build, it's very easy to say when those negative voices start coming in. They say, oh, you're not this, you're not that, you're just an imposter. They're all going to know. You look at your portfolio and you look at all the things you've created. Well, obviously, this is just a negative voice in my mind, and I don't have to pay attention. I see you, I recognize you, and I'm going to let you go because this is not reality. And so be building and be creating. And as the more you build, the more you want to create, the more you want to do. It becomes a habit. So much of this is beginning to create positive habits in your life. And then to network and to share. And by that, I don't necessarily mean networking in the common sense that we think of it, but to get yourself in this mindset of that I am who I want to be. I already am that person inside. But you can network and you can share and you can be part of a group. And as you share knowledge, you encourage the other people around you, you enable them to do more and to do better, and then they can share, and then you become to create this effect of rising the tide. And as the tide rises, all ships rise, right? I strongly believe that as the tide rises, all the ships rise. And so you plug yourself into networks like the network that we have here at Career Inclusive. You plug yourself into our community or to other communities, engineering communities that are positive, that seek to lift people up, that encourage individuals to become the greatest professionals that they can be, to become the greatest people that they can become. And as you do that and you share, you become better yourself. There's the saying that we are a culmination of our 5 closest friends. Right? And so you really want to think about that. Like, who are the 5 people that you're really closest to? And that's your inner network. And that inner network is a representation of who you are. It's almost like a mirror looking back at you. And so now I want to talk about, like, this is the meat of this, of today is the only day that matters. So habits, right? I always want to give you actionable advice. And this is something that we'll be doing for these 60 days of value. I'm going to be giving you actionable advice that you can take with you, that you can put into practice. So if you've got a notepad nearby, maybe you want to pause the video for a second if you're watching after the live cast, or if you're here with me right now, you want to go ahead and open up a notepad on your computer or grab a pen and a paper and write this stuff down. So this is actionable advice that you can instantiate today. Certainly no later than tomorrow. Like, even if it's nighttime where you're at, you can get started now, or you could just get an early night's rest and then start in the morning. This is not going to be incredibly difficult, but it is life-changing. And so how do you make the most of every day? Well, first you've got to know what your day looks like. You've got to know what's important to you. So what I like to do is I write, when I wake up in the morning, I write goals. I write my goals, generally like goals for a year. And so where it is true that tomorrow does not yet exist, we do know that tomorrow is coming, right? We can never go backwards. When I got up and I was doing things, and after I prepared myself, I looked and it was like 9:30 in the morning. I was like, it's early, but I'm never going to see 9:30 on this day again, right? It's here and it's gone. And so now it's about 10:30, so an hour has passed, still early, but a little bit later, and I'll never see that hour again on this day in this life, right? And so you want to know what's most important to you. So I write goals, 10 to 15. These are not necessarily goals that I'm worried about accomplishing tomorrow. These are more like longer term, 1 year goals, just whatever is really important to me and a priority. So I write down some things. I'll share some with you. I'll give you some real examples. So goals that I wrote down this morning, February 13th. Every day I wake up at 5:30 a.m. I earn $50,000 a month. I am strong. I am the greatest creator of online education. I'm focused on what is most important. I can identify what is most important. I am confident. My family is fulfilled and complete. Okay, so those were some of the goals that I wrote down. Some of those things I am, some of those things I'm not. Like these are goals, right? Some of these things I'm further along in my journey, and other things I'm not as far along in my journey. And so these are a process, right? Some of these things I can accomplish in months. Some of these things I can accomplish in a year. Some of these things might be a 15 or a 20-year goal. But whatever I am focused on that day, I just write those down. I do that every day. I don't consult the notes from the previous days. I just write down the goals for that morning. I'm just capturing that. And you do that for about 30 days, and you'll start to see that you start to get down to like where you're writing very similar goals every day. And so by doing that, you create this process of finding what is most important to you by the things that are continually coming to the top of your mind. And so this is a process, right? You do this every day for 30 days. If you miss a couple days, don't beat yourself up. Just get back to it. Okay. Then for today, you want to identify 3 to 6 things that are most important to you for that day. Those things that you want to accomplish today. Okay. So now this is a new exercise. This isn't the 10 to 15 things. This is 3 to 6 things for today that you want to accomplish today. Okay. So this is not like I'm going to be the greatest content creator, right? I'm not going to accomplish that today. I'll be on my journey today. I'll be working on that today, but no one's going to call me up and say, "Hey, JP, you are the greatest." It would feel good, but I'm not there yet, and that's okay. But what's something I can do today? Well, today on my list was to make this video, to kick off 60 days of value, to create this live cast. That's a high priority item. Okay. A few other things on the list. So you go through, write those things down, and then prioritize them. What's the most important thing? Look at that list. And 3 to 6, 3 is a good number. If you have a busier day, some say 6, but no more than 6. No more than 6. That's max. So look at that. What's most important? What's the most important of that list? What's the second thing that's most important? And then what's the third most important? And then if you got 4, 5, 6 items, prioritize them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And do first things first. When you wake up in the morning, you're full of energy. When I was in high school, I remember that even though I hated it, I would always be encouraged to take math courses first thing in the morning because the brain is awake, it's ready to go, and it has the most energy. So take your math early in the morning. And even though I didn't like it, I would do that as much as possible, and then it did better for it. Okay, so always do the most important thing. I've read that we lose by making decisions throughout the day, that we can lose as much as 10 IQ points by the end of the day, which is pretty wild to think that we actually get dumber throughout the day. And you can probably see this. Like if you work in a high stress job, you can feel that, right? You can feel like, oh man, by the end of the day, I'm just done. I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to make any more decisions. So like by the time I get home and I'm asked, what do you want from dinner? I don't care. Like whatever, right? If you're in a high stress job where you're always making decisions, and you start to make poor decisions as we get tired, right? I don't want to eat. I'll just have a beer or whatever it might be. That's easy. Just pop the can open and I'll get my calories from that. And that's a terrible decision. That's like one of the worst things you can do for your body. But as the day progresses, we lose those IQ points. And this is why a list is very important. So 3 to 6 items that are those most important things that you've got to get done today. First things first, focus on the first thing. And this should be the most important thing. Um, don't do the easy stuff first. Do the hard thing. It should be like the hardest thing, which also happens to be the most important thing. Not saying that it always will be, but it tends to be that the more important things that we need to get done, those things that are not necessarily urgent, but they are very important, they tend to be a little harder to implement. And that's why it's easy to kick the can down the road because they're not necessarily urgent, but they are important. And we know that if we can get these things done, then it will create more revenue or profits, productivity, make our life easier. But it's just like the implementing of it, right? Can be a little difficult. So do the first things first. It's critical. It's absolutely critical. And that way you'll feel good too. You'll feel good about if you get those hard things done first, you'll feel better. So you get the short-term benefit of scratching something off your list, but the long-term benefit of scratching something meaningful off your list, right? It's really easy. It's really easy to write down a long list of things that don't really matter, like check email, walk the dog. It's important, but walking the dog's not going to get you a raise, right? Unless that's your profession. Um, put away the dishes, talk to Mark about the thing, uh, do the marketing thing. Okay, these may not necessarily be as important, but you get those things done, right? The quick little tasks that you can get done. And so you get that endorphin rush of like scratching off the list. But at the end of the day, you still feel bad because what you did wasn't very important and you know it. Yeah, so that's that. If you do that, you will find that you're more productive. Uh, Another step to take that further, you want to take like that's kind of the noob levels, like, and even doing that, I think it's beyond noob. Noob is like just writing out a long list. Okay, intermediate is writing out 3 to 6 important things and then prioritizing them. Expert is to say how long is this task going to take me, and then stick yourself to it. Right. So if you got a very important task, you figure it'll take 2 hours. Write that down. 2 hours. Another task will take an hour, hour and a half. The goal is to have about 6 hours worth of activities that are very important to do. If you have more than 6 or 7, then you're going to find that it's unrealistic. It'll require more time and energy from you than what the average person's body is going to be able to deliver for them. And so you'll end up stressing yourself out. So set a schedule for how long it's going to take. And then you can block out your calendar. If you know how long a task is going to take you to complete, you can start blocking out your calendar. And if you're working in an organization, other people in the organization, they can look at your calendar. If you're on like a Microsoft Teams or Google Calendar, they'll see your blocks. They'll know when you're open and available. And then just one other piece of advice there is as you block out your day, add in 30 minutes, 2 30-minute sessions of like junk time, basically. So time for the interruptions. Allow yourself 2 30-minute sessions throughout the day for interruptions and for things that come up throughout a day, those important tasks that are urgent, or maybe they're not important, but they're urgent and they have to get done. Allow yourself 2 30-minute sessions a day for those kind of things that come up so that you limit how frustrated you become when you are interrupted, and then try to block your time and protect your time as much as possible. If you're in a position where you can tell people, don't interrupt me during this time, then use that authority. If you're not, then maybe you're in a secretarial position or you're in a lower level position where you don't have as much pull yet. You can still do this. You may not be able to block out a whole 6 hours. Maybe 5 hours of your day is already blocked out for you, but you should be able to block out at least 2 to 3 hours, and where you can focus on development, self-development, and professional development to get you further, faster. Okay, so 60 days of value, we're going to do this every day. I'm going to be live casting to you every day for 60 days. I've got a whole roster of topics to talk about. I'm really excited about this. In between that, too, we'll do resume reviews. I've got a couple resumes that I've got for review that I'm going to be sharing with that. So I'll be making that here in a little bit and sharing that on my channel. So if you're working on your resumes and your CVs, you want to check that out, get some advice on how to make a strong CV that's going to get the attention. We'll be talking about networking. So I've got my list right here of 60 topics that we're going to talk about, just to give you a little teaser. The ways that we self-sabotage ourselves, the benefits of LinkedIn Premium, how to network, creating your own work experience. That's a big one I get. These companies, they want experience, but it's I don't have experience. How do I get experience? We're going to talk about that. Taking control of your job search, questions to ask an interviewer, and how to collect market intelligence. Let's see, there's a couple more here. Yeah, I've got like 3 pages. This is awesome. I'm really excited for this. Putting yourself on the journey, super important. Behavioral interviews, technical interviews. We want to talk about those things. How to write a killer resume, summary statements, bullet points. Yeah, it's going to be great. The importance of paying it forward, very important. All right, cool. That's going to do it for this live cast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button, subscribe. I don't tend to ask that often. We do have a Patreon. If you find this helpful, if you find that this gives you value, I appreciate your donation. Appreciate it. It helps us do what we do. If you want to talk to me, you want to have a one-on-one strategic conversation, let's do that. Let's meet. We've got our site at careerinclusive.com. You can go to the Meet With Me page. It's careerinclusive.com/meet-with-me. And it's probably just easier. Just go to careerinclusive.com and navigate through the menu. It's right there. If you want to hear about the work that I do and you want to hear about success stories, you can check me out on LinkedIn, or you can check us out at the Success Stories page at careerinclusive.com. Yeah, awesome. And we will see you tomorrow. Thank you.